Life at its core is governed by laws that transcend human understanding, principles as unshakable as gravity. Among these laws is the inescapable truth that actions, whether kind or cruel, have consequences. When someone inflicts pain upon another, they are not exempt from the ripple effect of their actions. The universe is neither blind nor indifferent. It observes, it remembers, and it responds. The suffering we endure at the hands of others is not left unresolved, nor is the harm they inflict forgotten. Instead, it sets into motion a cycle, a reaping of what has been sown, that in time finds its way back to those who caused it. This cycle of consequences is not mere poetic justice, but a profound reflection of the moral fabric of existence. It is as though the universe, or perhaps the divine, has woven into creation a mechanism by which balance is restored. To harm another is to disturb this balance, to create a void where peace once dwelled, and to send forth a ripple that inevitably returns to its source. Those who cause suffering cannot outrun the echoes of their deeds, for these echoes are not external forces, but reflections of the inner discord their actions have created. Consider, for example, the weight of a guilty conscience. Even if unseen by others, the harm one causes to another leaves an indelible mark upon the soul of the perpetrator. They may attempt to silence this inner voice through denial, distraction, or rationalization, but truth has a way of surfacing. The heart knows its guilt, even when the mind refuses to acknowledge it. Over time, this unresolved guilt festers, manifesting as anxiety, isolation, or a deep and inexplicable emptiness. The very suffering they imposed on another becomes their burden, not because it was imposed by an external force, but because the moral order of the universe demands reconciliation. But the consequences of cruelty are not limited to the internal realm. They extend outward, often in ways the perpetrator does not anticipate. Relationships are strained or broken, trust is eroded, and reputations are tarnished. Those who inflict pain may find themselves surrounded by the very bitterness they have sown, their own actions returning to them in the form of alienation and loss. Even when their cruelty appears to go unpunished for a time, the seeds they have planted take root and grow, often in ways they cannot foresee. There is also a deeper spiritual truth at play. Suffering, when imposed on another, invites a response from the divine, a justice that transcends human understanding. This is not the vengeful justice of human courts, but the restorative justice of a higher order. It is a justice that seeks not merely to punish, but to awaken, to bring the wrongdoer face to face with the truth of their actions and the harm they have caused. In this way, the suffering they experience becomes an opportunity for growth and redemption, though it is not always recognized as such. This is not to suggest that those who have been wronged should take pleasure in the suffering of their oppressors. To do so would be to perpetuate the cycle of pain and to risk becoming like those who caused the harm. Rather, it is to acknowledge that the universe, in its infinite wisdom, ensures that no action is without consequence. Those who cause suffering are not beyond the reach of justice, and their suffering, when it comes, is not merely retribution, but a call to transformation. The cycle of consequences is a profound reminder that our actions matter. Each word we speak, each choice we make, sends forth ripples that touch the lives of others and ultimately our own. It is a call to live with integrity, to choose kindness over cruelty, and to seek reconciliation over revenge. For in the end, it is not merely the harm we cause to others that defines us, but the legacy of love, compassion, and justice we leave behind. Justice is one of the cornerstones of the moral order of the universe, an immutable principle that undergirds the fabric of creation. It is not a human invention, though civilizations have sought to define and interpret it through laws and customs. Rather, justice is woven into the very essence of existence, a divine constant that ensures balance, accountability, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. Socially, though it may often seem elusive and at times delayed, justice operates in ways that transcend our limited understanding. It is not merely punitive, but restorative, aiming to heal the wounds inflicted by wrongdoing and to realign the universe with its intended harmony. At its heart, justice is about balance. When harm is done, an imbalance occurs, a disruption in the moral and spiritual equilibrium of life. This imbalance cannot be ignored or dismissed, for it reverberates across the lives it touches. The pain caused by cruelty or betrayal does not vanish into the void. It leaves a mark, a scar on the soul of the victim, and a stain on the conscience of the perpetrator. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, seeks to address this disruption, to restore what has been broken, and to correct the course of events so that order is re-established. Justice, then, is not simply about punishment. It is about restoration and redemption. One of the profound aspects of justice is its inevitability. While human systems of justice can fail due to corruption, error, or limitation, the justice embedded in the moral order of the universe cannot be evaded. It is impartial, unyielding, and operates on a timeline that may not align with human expectations. This inevitability is both a comfort and a warning. It reassures those who have suffered wrongs that their pain will not be ignored, and that those who caused it will face the consequences of their actions. At the same time, it serves as a reminder to all of us that our choices carry weight, that we are accountable not only to human laws, but to a higher standard of truth and righteousness. We need to confront these evils one by one. The workings of justice are often mysterious, unfolding in ways that defy our immediate comprehension. It may seem for a time that those who act with cruelty or deceit prosper, while their victims languish in suffering. This apparent delay can lead to despair, a sense that justice is absent or ineffective. Yet this delay is not an absence, but a reflection of the complexity of the moral order. Justice is not always swift, because it is not merely about retribution. It is about transformation. It seeks to bring about not only the acknowledgement of wrongdoing, but also the possibility of repentance, growth, and renewal. This transformative aspect of justice is evident in its dual nature. On one hand, justice holds the wrongdoer accountable, confronting them with the consequences of their actions. This accountability can take many forms: external consequences, such as loss of reputation, relationships, or freedom, as well as internal consequences, such as guilt, shame, and a troubled conscience. On the other hand, justice offers the possibility of redemption. It provides an opportunity for the wrongdoer to recognize their errors, to seek forgiveness, and to make amends. In this way, justice is not merely about condemning the guilty, but about inviting them to change, to become better, and to contribute to the healing of the world. For those who have suffered injustice, the moral order of the universe offers a profound hope. It affirms that their pain is not meaningless, that it has been seen and acknowledged by a higher power. It assures them that they are not alone, that the universe itself is aligned with their longing for truth and fairness. This assurance does not erase the pain of injustice, but it provides a foundation of hope and resilience, a reminder that their suffering is not the end of the story. Justice also serves as a guide for how we ought to live. It calls us to act with integrity, to treat others with fairness and compassion, and to resist the temptation to harm or exploit. It challenges us to examine our own hearts, to recognize the ways in which we may contribute to the imbalance of the world, and to take responsibility for our actions. In doing so, justice not only restores balance, but also elevates humanity, calling us to live in alignment with the highest principles of goodness and truth. Ultimately, justice in the moral order of the universe is a reflection of the character of the divine, steadfast, impartial, and compassionate. It reminds us that we are not adrift in a chaotic, indifferent world, but are part of a creation that is profoundly ordered and purposeful. While we may not always see justice fulfilled in the ways or timelines we expect, we can trust in its presence and power. It assures us that no act of cruelty or kindness goes unnoticed, that every action matters, and that every action matters, and that in the end the balance will be restored and truth will prevail. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as an act of weakness, as though to forgive someone who has wronged us is to condone their actions or diminish the pain they have caused. Yet forgiveness is one of the most profound acts of strength and freedom. It is not about excusing the wrongdoing or erasing the memory of it, but about freeing ourselves from the heavy chains of bitterness, anger, and the consuming desire for revenge. In choosing forgiveness, we rise above the instinct to retaliate, embracing a path that leads not only to personal peace, but to a deeper understanding of our shared humanity. The desire for revenge is a natural response to being wrong. When we are hurt, betrayed, or humiliated, our instincts often demand retribution as a way to balance the scales of justice. This desire is rooted in our sense of fairness and our longing to make things right. However, the pursuit of revenge rarely leads to the resolution or satisfaction we imagine it will. Instead, it often perpetuates cycles of harm, dragging us deeper into the very pain we seek to escape. Revenge, in its essence, binds us to the person who wronged us, keeping the wound open and fresh, as if the injury is relived with every thought of retribution. Forgiveness, by contrast, breaks this cycle. It severs the tie between us and the one who caused us harm, releasing us from the emotional captivity of our anger and resentment. When we forgive, we are not saying that the harm was acceptable or that justice is irrelevant. Rather, we are choosing to prioritize our well-being and peace over the endless pursuit of vengeance. Forgiveness is a declaration of independence from the power of the wrongdoer and a reclaiming of our agency in the face of suffering. The gospel tells us that we have indeed liberty and independence. Never to forgive anymore. Forgiveness also protects us from the corrosive effects of bitterness. Holding on to anger can feel justified, even empowering in the short term, but over time it eats away at our joy, our relationships, and our sense of purpose. Bitterness is a poison that we drink, hoping it will harm the other person, yet it is we who suffer. It clouds our judgment, distorts our perspective, and locks us into a state of emotional turmoil. By forgiving, we let go of this poison and allow ourselves to heal. Rising above the desire for revenge does not mean ignoring the pain or injustice of what has happened. It is crucial to acknowledge the hurt, to grieve the loss, and to process the emotions that arise. Forgiveness is not a denial of these feelings, but a decision to move beyond them. It is a recognition that clinging to anger and hatred only prolongs our suffering, while letting go creates space for healing and renewal. Forgiveness is not a momentary act, but a process, one that may require time, reflection, and even repeated efforts. Yet, with each step, we move closer to liberation. Forgiveness also transforms the way we see ourselves and others. When we forgive, we recognize the shared brokenness of humanity. None of us is without flaws, and all of us at some point have caused harm, intentionally or unintentionally. Forgiveness is an act of humility, acknowledging our own capacity for failure and our need for grace. It is a reminder that our worth is not diminished by our wounds, nor is the worth of the one who wronged us obliterated by their acts. In forgiving, we affirm the dignity of every person, even in the face of their mistakes. Moreover, forgiveness opens the door to hope. While revenge focuses on the past, forgiveness looks to the future. It envisions a world where healing is possible, where relationships can be restored, and where love can triumph over hate. Forgiveness does not guarantee reconciliation, as that requires mutual effort and trust. However, it creates the conditions for reconciliation to take root, should both parties be willing to work toward it. Even when reconciliation is not possible, forgiveness allows us to release the burden of anger and step into a future unshackled by the weight of the past. Choosing forgiveness is not easy. It requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to confront the pain we have endured. It often feels counterintuitive, especially when our wounds are fresh and our emotions raw. Yet, forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves as much as the other person. It is an act of self-care, a way of saying, I will not allow this hurt to define me or control my life. Through forgiveness, we reclaim our power, not by dominating the one who wronged us, but by refusing to let their actions dictate our emotional and spiritual well-being. In the end, forgiveness is freedom. It is the freedom to move forward, to find peace, and to live fully, unburdened by the weight of resentment. In choosing to forgive, we are not letting the other person off the hook. We are letting ourselves off the hook of bitterness, reclaiming the fullness of our lives. Empathy, often perceived as a quiet and tender force, has an extraordinary ability to bring healing and restoration, even in the face of the gravest injustices. In moments when betrayal, cruelty, or suffering leave their deepest scars, empathy stands as a bridge, a connection that enables understanding, alleviates pain, and transforms both the one offering it and the one receiving it. Far from being a passive sentiment, empathy is an active and courageous response to injustice, one that holds the power to foster reconciliation, strengthen communities, and heal the human spirit. Empathy is the will to help and the hope to foster reconciliation. When we experience injustice, our natural response often leans toward anger, resentment, or self-protection. These reactions, while valid, can isolate us and deepen our pain. In such moments, empathy is a radical act. It requires stepping outside of our pain and seeing others, not as adversaries or perpetrators, but as complex human beings shaped by their own experiences, wounds, and struggles. This does not mean excusing injustice or diminishing its impact. Instead, it means recognizing that those who cause harm often act out of their own brokenness. Empathy allows us to discern this truth without justifying the harm they have done. To offer empathy in the face of injustice is to choose connection over division. It is to say, I see you, not just your actions, but the person behind them. This acknowledgement can be profoundly healing, especially in situations where relationships are strained or broken. For those who have caused harm, being seen and understood can create a space for accountability, self-reflection, and change. For those who have been wronged, offering empathy can provide a sense of agency and empowerment, breaking the cycle of resentment and opening the door to emotional freedom. Empathy also plays a crucial role in collective healing. Injustice often tears at the fabric of communities, creating divisions that can persist for generations. When we respond to injustice with empathy, we counteract this fragmentation. Empathy fosters dialogue, mutual understanding, and collaboration, all of which are essential for repairing broken relationships and rebuilding trust. It allows us to see beyond our own pain and to recognize the shared humanity that binds us together, even in the face of conflict or opposition. The healing power of empathy is not limited to interpersonal relationships. It extends to how we understand and address systemic injustices. Empathy invites us to listen deeply to the experiences of others, especially those who have been marginalized or silenced. It challenges us to move beyond stereotypes, biases, and assumptions, and to engage with the lived realities of those who suffer. In doing so, empathy inspires action. It compels us to advocate for justice, to challenge oppressive systems, and to work toward a world where every person's dignity is upheld. At its core, empathy is a practice of imagination and courage. It asks us to step into another's shoes, to feel their pain, and to bear witness to their story. This act of identification does not diminish our own experiences of injustice. Rather, it expands our capacity to hold both our pain and the pain of others. Empathy does not require us to agree with or condone the actions of those who harm us, but it does call us to approach them with a sense of curiosity and compassion. It reminds us that understanding is not the same as excusing, and that seeing the humanity in others does not negate the need for justice and accountability. In the face of injustice, empathy can also serve as a source of personal healing. When we extend empathy to others, we cultivate a sense of purpose and connection that counteracts the isolating effects of pain. Empathy allows us to transform our suffering into a source of wisdom and strength, enabling us to navigate the complexities of life with greater resilience and grace. It shifts our focus from what has been taken from us and to what we can offer, empowering us to reclaim our agency and to contribute to the healing of the world around us. Perhaps one of the most remarkable aspects of empathy is its capacity to create ripple effects. A single act of empathy can inspire others to act with compassion and understanding, setting in motion a chain reaction that reaches far beyond its initial moment. In this way, empathy has the potential to transcend individual experiences of injustice and to foster a culture of kindness and solidarity. It reminds us that healing is not a solitary endeavor, but a collective journey, one that requires us to walk alongside one another with open hearts and minds. Injustice, by its nature, seeks to divide, to dehumanize, and to destroy. Empathy counters this by affirming our interconnectedness and our shared humanity. It is not an easy path. It requires vulnerability, humility, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But it is a path that leads to profound healing and transformation. Empathy allows us to rise above the pain of injustice, to envision a world rooted in understanding and compassion, and to take the first steps toward making that vision a reality. In the face of injustice, empathy is not only a balm for the wounded, but a bridge toward hope, healing, and renewal. And so God clothes the mind with manuscripts like this. So, Emperor, healing. Suffering, while often dreaded and misunderstood, possesses a unique ability to strip away the superficial layers of human experience, exposing the profound depths of our vulnerability. It is a reality that touches every life at some point, whether through loss, betrayal, illness, or hardship. And it forces us to confront the fragility of our existence. In these moments of pain, we come face to face with our limitations, our inability to control every aspect of life, our dependence on others, and our deep yearning for meaning and connection. While suffering is undeniably difficult, it serves as both a mirror and a teacher, revealing truths about ourselves and the human condition that are often hidden in times of comfort. At its core, suffering lays bare the inherent vulnerability of being human. We live in a world where change is constant, where relationships are imperfect, and where our physical bodies are subject to aging, illness, and decay. These realities remind us that, no matter how strong or independent we may feel, we are not invincible. Suffering exposes this truth in a way that is impossible to ignore. It interrupts the illusion of control that we often cling to, forcing us to acknowledge that we are finite beings navigating a world filled with uncertainty. In these moments, vulnerability becomes not just an abstract concept, but a lived experience. It is the feeling of helplessness in the face of loss, the ache of a broken heart, or the despair of unanswered questions. Yet this vulnerability is not a weakness. It is an essential part of what it means to be human. It is a doorway to greater self-awareness and a deeper understanding of the shared human experience. When we recognize our own vulnerability, we also become more attuned to the vulnerability of others. Suffering also reveals the depth of our emotional and spiritual needs. In times of pain, we often find ourselves searching for comfort, support, and meaning. These moments of searching can be deeply uncomfortable as they force us to confront questions that we might otherwise avoid. Why is this happening? What does it mean? How will I move forward? While the answers to these questions are rarely simple, the process of wrestling with them can lead to profound growth. Suffering invites us to explore the core of our being, to reflect on our values, and to seek out the sources of strength and hope that sustain us. Moreover, suffering reveals the importance of connection. When we are in pain, the presence of others, whether through a kind word, a listening ear, or simply a shared moment of silence, can be a powerful source of comfort. This highlights a fundamental truth. We are not meant to navigate life alone. Our vulnerability binds us together, creating opportunities for deeper relationships and a greater sense of community. Paradoxically, the very thing that isolates us in our pain, our vulnerability, also has the potential to unite us, reminding us of our shared humanity. In broader sense, suffering also calls attention to the fragility of the world around us. It reminds us that the systems and structures we rely on, whether social, economic, or environmental, are not immune to failure or disruption. This awareness can be unsettling, but it also serves as a call to action. It challenges us to confront injustice, to care for one another, and to strive for a world where suffering is alleviated wherever possible. At the same time, suffering challenges the narratives we construct about ourselves and the world. It disrupts our assumptions about fairness, control, and certainty, forcing us to reevaluate our beliefs and expectations. In this way, suffering can be a catalyst for transformation. It encourages us to let go of illusions and to embrace a more authentic understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. With this, while this process is often painful, it can lead to a deeper sense of resilience and a renewed capacity for joy and gratitude. Ultimately, suffering reveals not only our vulnerability, but also our strength. It shows us that even in the face of immense pain, we have the capacity to endure, to adapt, and to grow. It reminds us that vulnerability is not the end of the story, but a part of the journey. Through suffering, we discover the depth of our courage, the power of our relationships, and the richness of a life lived with authenticity and compassion. While suffering is never something we seek, it holds within it the potential to transform us, revealing the profound beauty and resilience of the human spirit. The illusion of escaping accountability is a powerful but deceptive belief that often drives individuals to act without regard for the consequences of their actions. It is rooted in the human tendency to seek immediate gratification, avoid discomfort, and shield oneself from judgment. Yet no matter how cleverly one may attempt to evade responsibility, whether by denying wrongdoing, shifting blame, or hiding the truth, the moral order of the universe ensures that accountability is inescapable. This reality may not always manifest in the ways or timelines we expect, but it operates unfailingly, weaving consequences into the fabric of life. At the heart of this illusion is a misunderstanding of the nature of accountability. Many perceive it as a merely external process, a set of rules enforced by authority figures, institutions, or societal norms. Under this view, evading accountability seems possible if one can manipulate systems, obscure evidence, or escape scrutiny. However, true accountability is far deeper and more pervasive. It is not confined to the judgments of others, but is embedded in the very essence of existence, governed by an internal compass, the conscience, and the moral laws that underpin human relationships and society. One of the ways people attempt to avoid accountability is through denial. By refusing to acknowledge their actions or the harm they have caused, they convince themselves that they are exempt from the consequences. This denial may bring temporary relief, as it allows them to maintain their self-picked up and avoid the discomfort of guilt or regret. However, denial does not erase reality, and the truth remains unchanged, and the effects of their actions ripple outward, impacting others and ultimately coming back to confront them. The conscience, though suppressed, cannot be silenced indefinitely. It lingers as an inner witness, a quiet but persistent voice, reminding them of the truth they wish to ignore. The truth they wish to ignore. Another strategy often employed to escape accountability is the shifting of blame. By redirecting responsibility onto others, whether through scapegoating, excuses, or manipulation, individuals seek to deflect attention from their own actions. This tactic may succeed temporarily, particularly in environments where power dynamics or biases obscure the truth. Yet such efforts are inherently unstable. They depend on falsehoods which are fragile and prone to unraveling over time. Moreover, the act of blaming others corrodes relationships, undermining trust and isolating the individual further. In the end, the web of deception becomes a trap, ensnaring the one who wove it. Hiding the truth is another common means of avoiding accountability. Whether through secrecy, lies, or misdirection, individuals may believe that concealing their actions will protect them from judgment. This belief stems from a reliance on external appearances, as if the absence of visible consequences equates to an absence of responsibility. Yet the truth has a remarkable way of surfacing. Hidden actions leave traces, emotional, relational, or circumstantial, that cannot be fully erased. Even if external consequences are delayed, the internal weight of secrecy and dishonesty takes its toll, manifesting as anxiety, insecurity, or a fragmented sense of self. The illusion of escaping accountability is not only deceptive, but also destructive. It prevents individuals from confronting their own flaws, learning from their mistakes, and growing into better versions of themselves. By avoiding responsibility, they miss the opportunity to seek forgiveness, make amends, and restore what has been broken. Instead, they perpetuate cycles of harm, both to themselves and to others. This avoidance erodes character, weakens relationships, and creates an ever-widening chasm between who they are and who they are meant to be. Accountability, far from being something to fear, is an essential aspect of a meaningful and fulfilling life. It is a reflection of our interconnectedness, a recognition that our actions matter, and that we are part of something greater than ourselves. Embracing accountability requires courage, humility, and the willingness to face discomfort. But it is ultimately liberating. It allows us to live with integrity, to learn from our mistakes, and to build relationships founded on trust and respect. The moral order of the universe ensures that accountability cannot be avoided forever. Actions have consequences, whether immediate or delayed, visible or hidden. This truth is not punitive but redemptive, offering each of us the chance to align our lives with what is good, true, and just. When we recognize that accountability is inescapable, we are freed from the burden of maintaining illusions and invited into the transformative work of living with authenticity and purpose. For those who strive to escape accountability, the path forward is not one of evasion, but of acknowledgement. It is a path that begins with honesty, with oneself, with others, and with the reality of the situation. It involves taking responsibility, seeking forgiveness, and committing to change. While this process may be difficult, it leads to freedom, healing, and a deeper sense of wholeness. The illusion of escaping accountability may promise ease, but it is a hollow promise. True peace and fulfillment come not from avoidance, but from facing the truth and embracing the opportunity to grow.